All right, well, great. Why don't we go ahead and get started? Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Armando Ortega, and I'm the Director of Product Marketing here at Replicon. And I'd like to thank everyone here for taking the time to join us today for our webinar entitled The Latest Replicon Functionality. And today I'm joined by my colleague, Scott Bales, who is the Director of Solutions Engineering. And in the webinar today, we'll be showcasing Gen 3, our latest Replicon release, which we're very excited to have recently made available. We've added a lot of new exciting capabilities, and in particular, we've added powerful functionality that will help professional services organizations be more productive and also get better insights into their business. And that's why we've invited our customers here who are specifically in the professional services sector to share these new enhancements with them. During today's webinars, the majority of the time will be spent with Scott showing you the actual product and giving you a live demonstration. But before that, what I'd like to do is give you a brief overview of Replicon and also a highlight of some of the new capabilities that you'll be seeing. However, before we get started to that point, I did want to just spend a few minutes to go over a few housekeeping items and let you know how everyone here can participate in today's webinar. You'll be kept on mute during the presentation, but you can submit your questions at any time using the presentation during the presentation on the using the Q&A text box that is on your right-hand side. And then these questions will be addressed at the end. So please just feel free to do so. And there's also a chat box on the right-hand side. And if you have any questions for the moderator there, you can do those and submit those as well. So without any further ado, why don't we go ahead and get started with the presentation. And I'll start by giving everyone a brief overview of Replicon. So I know that most of the people on the call today are customers and are familiar with Replicon, but I'll keep this very brief since many of you have maybe not spoken to us in a while or haven't heard of the latest information about Replicon. So we are the leader in cloud time tracking applications, and our solutions are used really by millions of people around the world to manage their workforce attendance, their projects, programs. The professional services organizations will be the focus of today's conversation, but also shared services resource. And you can see the broad diversity and a broad footprint that we have. You are, as customers, in good company, as we have some of the leaders in the world who trust and depend on us to address their business needs, companies like Facebook, Xerox, Credit Suisse, and others. So there's a wide diversity of customers, both geographically and as far as industries. And our customers really come to us to help them with their business needs. And these are the key general benefits that they tell us that they get from using our solutions. At a high level, essentially, it's really about getting better insights into their workforce, into their productivity. So knowing what projects people are assigned on, how our project status is progressing, making sure that utilization rates are kept in check. So all of this gives great visibility into the business. The other is around the theme of compliance, so ensuring that the organization is complying to a lot of the things that are required for that business. A lot of this comes in the HR side of our solutions, where we're managing a lot of the labor regulatory things, but also on the professional services side, a lot of organizations have specific contract requirements with their clients where they need to bill specific billing rates or approve specific expense types. So we help ensure that companies comply to that. And then thirdly, looking at how organizations can optimize their process. So essentially using our solutions to automate, to be more productive, to cut down billing cycles, to increase cash flow, all of these things that matter to professional services organizations. And the way that we go about delivering on these benefits is what we call our differentiators, or what makes Replicon provide a real unique experience to our customers. These are the following. So one is that we're built on 100% cloud. We're a multi-tenant cloud solution, which means that our customers don't worry about any of the hassles of maintenance. Features are delivered continuously, so everyone's always getting new upgrades and new updates. And it's just an ability that lets our customers really just focus on their business and not on running software. The next is a one platform, which I'll talk a lot more in the next slide when you see our solutions, but really having a time tracking solution that spans a lot of different functions within an organization to provide that single point of contact and of information. Usability, we'll talk a little bit more about this, but really taking a lot of effort to make the tool very easy to use, to increase adoption. And then our no hassle a commitment is to give customers the best customer satisfaction service and ensure that they're running smoothly, and that if they have any help or need help from us, they can contact us 24/7. We provide an assigned customer success specialist that works with each customer so that they can be the single point of contact for technical issues. And when looking at our time tracking solutions, really we address these four primary sort of market use cases. First is professional services management, which we'll spend a lot more talking about here, essentially helping professional services organization capture billable time, keep track of projects, manage resources, help ensure fast, accurate billing, all of those things. In addition to that, we have a project and program management solution that also is project-based time tracking, but does not have to deal with any of the billing and the client management requirements. These are really focused on organizations that need to track time internally for internal projects. And that could be for many reasons. It might be for development where they want to drive project efficiencies. It might be because they need to track capital expenses for tax purposes, and they need an effective way of tracking that. The third one is shared services management. This is organizations that are large and have a centralized function, such as an IT department or a marketing department, that provides services to a lot of other business units and serves as a shared resource. Oftentimes, they need to track how much time they're spending on their different clients, internal clients, to be able to then do chargebacks or just be able to report on the services that were delivered to each one of these organizations. And then time and attendance, our fourth one, is really this is not project-centric time tracking, but really time tracking focused on helping to drive payroll, to be able to track time to pay employees, to manage things such as overtime calculations that can get very complicated, also ensure a lot of the labor regulatory compliance regulations are being complied with, such as meal breaks, absences, things of that nature, also being able to track PTO. So all of these are handled by a time and attendance solution. So, and as I mentioned, the focus today will be to talk about our professional services management solution and the capabilities there. And when we talk about our professional services management, these are the key areas that our solution provides. So at the core, we have, of course, the time tracking capability that you've all come to know and depend on, but we've also expanded this a lot more, as you also see in the following slide. So there's a much stronger project management component where you can keep track and report on your projects. We've improved significantly and added resource management capabilities, more visibility, and the ability to do better management of your billing. And then all of these, of course, with our analytics and reporting layer, provide visibility and insight into all of these components. And specifically, when we talk about Gen 3, there are some real great leaps and enhancements that we've made into the application that you'll see today in the demo. So first is we feel that we've really made some big leaps on the usability. So we've always had ease of use as a big top priority for our products, and I think our older generation or way of doing things was actually quite good. We had it very easy, but we really wanted to take it to the next level. And in Gen 3, you'll see that the screens are cleaner, they're more intuitive. You'll be able to do things faster and be more productive overall. Next, we also made insights and analytics, being able to make decisions with data, a lot more important. So you'll see that we've changed our philosophy in that now, when we build our analytics and our reporting, we really make an effort of building those into the processes. So as you're doing things, you get served up the data, the information that you're doing in the normal course of your business process, rather than always going out to think, oh, I need to get this piece of information, I'm going to go run a separate report. And of course, we still support the reporting capability, and we're very strong in that. But in addition to reporting, we also want to provide other insights throughout the application. We've added a lot of project execution enhancements, things like client management, practice management that I'll talk about in a bit, and you'll see in the demo. And then also for our customers who are using us for HR, time and attendance, we've added a lot of capabilities to make that entire end-to-end process from time capture to payroll a lot more streamlined and compressed. And I'll walk through just a couple of screens before I hand it over here to Scott to go through the demo, just to give you kind of a sense, a preview of some of the things you'll see, to make sure you don't miss them. So one of these, as I mentioned before, is resource management. So we've really added some great functionality that's fully integrated with our time tracking capabilities to help organizations really be able to staff projects more effectively, giving visibility into all the resources, being able to quickly find and assign the right resource to their projects based on the needs, and using a lot of different search criteria, and being able to track and monitor utilization a lot more effectively. The other is support for client management, advanced client management. So we did have the notion of the client before, but now we've added a lot more capability to that, to essentially really allow you to do reporting by client, to understand what are all the projects that are underway for any specific client, what are the different stages that these projects are on, what's the overall client profitability across all these projects. Also being able to manage things such as specific billing rates and approved expense sites. All of these things have been added and are now part of the tool. Also, as you have a lot of different projects, I mentioned that one view is rolling these projects up by client. The other is, as a professional services organization, you might want to roll these up by another dimension, which is a practice. So maybe you have a lot of projects that are very similar in nature. Maybe if you're an IT consulting firm, maybe you have, for instance, an ERP practice that does a lot of ERP implementations, and then you have a separate practice that really focuses more on point CRM solutions, and you want to report on these two businesses separately. You now have the ability to do that very easily with Replicon. And then the last slide here that I wanted to highlight is our new analytics capability. So this goes back to what I talked about earlier about bringing analytics and insights to the forefront and to the process. And so these new analytics provide really nice insights as you're navigating the application. So for instance, you go into the project and the first thing you'll see is a summary that allows you to see how much has been billed, what are the costs that are been incurred on the project. These are very dynamic in nature. You can drill, you can slide across and get different views of the data. And Scott will do a great job of highlighting those here in a minute. So those are the key things that I wanted to call your attention to before you actually see the product. But at this point, I think I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Scott, and I'll let him go through and show you the product in real time. And then if you have any questions as you're going, please submit them in the Q&A panel, and then we'll address them at the end. Thank you. Take it away, Scott.
Excellent. Thank you, Armando. I've shared my screen. I just want to confirm you're seeing that, Armando, and then all our guests would also be seeing that.
Yes, I can see it well.
Great. Thank you for the introduction. The product we're going to be going through today is the Professional Services Management Product Suite. Luckily, most of our customers, or most of the attendees for this webinar, are also customers. So you're going to be familiar with the concept of tracking time towards projects and using that time for a combination of billing and costing, monitoring profitability of your projects. So we're going to touch today on some of the big benefits that Gen 3 provides for customers moving from a legacy version that we refer to as Gen 2 to the Gen 3 product that we're looking at. First and foremost, you're going to see a significant look and feel change. And the look and feel change that we're seeing is based on a couple of things. So we've changed our company branding February of last year, actually February of this year. We changed our website company branding, and we've pushed all of that branding change into the product, and we're seeing that here. The other thing is we've moved from a navigation perspective to two top-level navigation menus where functional roles fill out the first level of navigation, and the second navigation menu would be details around those functional groups. And the important thing to note here is that navigating within the system now puts everything a specific role would do on the same menu. So a user would spend time on My Replicon, and that may be the only tab they have. A team lead or a supervisor might spend their time on the Team tab, and that, again, is going to give them pertinent tabs to what they're doing. They don't have to jump all over the application to find information that they're looking for. Now, the timesheet itself, although it looks very similar, I can assure you that everything behind the scenes with the new timesheet has been recrafted. We were, in fact, reaching limits with the Gen 2 product, and the timesheet underpinnings of that solution are really a decade old. So we had to make considerable changes to the timesheet to move it forward. And what you see here is now a revised asynchronous timesheet. So it's not that late 90s post back to the server where everything goes back. The user is interacting real time with projects and tasks visible inline, no pop-ups that you have to deal with. The system is also pushing this data back to the server real time. So as I make changes, that change is pushed back to the server behind the scenes. So a save no longer takes minutes. The save is simply going to tell the server that it can commit the changes that it's already aware of. So you'll see a huge performance increase with the new timesheet screen. Okay. Now I should also take this time to point out that anything you're used to leveraging in the current product from a billing rates perspective and a time capture perspective is also supported here. The flexibility of looking at different weeks and months is also still configurable. Some of you, it may have been a long time since you configured it and you may be on monthly periods. Our system still supports that. I'm just looking at the sample database here, so we're seeing that week again. Okay. As we move on through the application, we'll take a look at the Team tab. Again, we're putting all my supervisory information in the same location, and the Team tab presents me with an interface showing all my approvals waiting. I can select all, drill down, and approve if I want to. Similar to the current product, here's the biggest change, and we're going to see this throughout. So all of these table lists that I'm looking at in the system now present me with a configuration gear. That gear lets me choose the columns that I would like to see when I'm looking at this screen. It applies to me only, so you can provide a very customized view of the data based on your preferences. And every time you log in, that will be remembered. Okay. The other point I'll indicate here is that the timesheet section of the Team tab gives me instant access to my team's timesheet. Whether they've been submitted or not, I have live visibility into what they're entering on a regular basis. This may be helpful for me to override their lack of submission, or allow me to go in and understand why they haven't filled in their timesheet for a period of time. Moving on, we'll see the first big menu addition. That would be clients. So the client view in Gen 2 was really just an attribute. All it was a drop-down field on project. It didn't serve a lot of purpose except as a reporting filter. And we've really expanded on the client functionality in Gen 3. So again, we're looking at a configurable dashboard list view that will allow me to look at hours, billing amounts, both actual and estimated for each. And again, the settings I choose will continue to show up every time I log in. I could pre-filter for my specific clients or other entries. I could just type in what I'm looking for and find it. But this view gives me high-level information. And Armando talked about data-driven decision-making. This is giving you the high-level information that may indicate for you, similar to a dashboard, what you need to take action on. And customer by customer, I can choose to look at a certain date range to understand what this customer is costing us and what we're generating from revenue. But at any point in time, I can drill down. So we're not going to force you to go to reports to pull the majority of the information you need. We'd rather you're able to find it in context in the product. And if I click into Big Game Inc., what I'm going to see is the first of several trending reports. This summary trending screen is a common interface throughout the new Gen 3 product, and we're going to talk a little bit about this now. So the summary trending is going to show me a date range along the bottom. You choose what that is. Right now we're looking at June of 2012 to February of 2014. It lets you look at different increments, maybe weekly, monthly, daily, or quarterly. And it's showing us two values for each, in this case, month. Okay. The values that it's showing us in this view is hours, so actual versus estimated hours that we've defined on this project. If I go to cost, it's, as the name implies, estimated versus actual costs, and we're going to see what drives these estimates in a second. Billing, by default, is going to show us billing versus cost. So this report is actually showing us profitability. Billing being the blue, we want that to always be over the actual cost of the users working on it. If you like to see costs or billing amounts into the future and do some forecasting, this will show you your actual versus estimated billing into the future as far ahead as you've planned. Last but not least is the resources view, which shows you how many resources in your organization are working on this specific client's projects over a period of time. Okay. Now, what projects are those? That's an easy question to answer. You just go to the Projects tab on the Client view, and you can see all of those clients' projects. Again, you see summary information about them. But if at any point in time you wanted to drill down and get more detail, you could simply click the name of the project and it would open up the project screen. We're going to see that in a moment. Before I leave the client interface, I want to touch on one other new additional feature. Client billing rates. Previously, we didn't have a way to associate a default set of rates or a rate table with a client. That's no longer the case. In Gen 3, you can set up specific client rates related to the client, including maintaining effective dates for when those rates might change, maybe on contract negotiation, etc. Then you also have a summary view of all the hours that have been entered at that specific rate or role for this client over a period of time. Now, client managers are going to spend the majority of their time here in the Clients tab, but project managers are going to spend the majority of their time on the project management screen. Okay? And again, this project screen looks a lot like the client project listing, only this applies to every project we have in the system. Okay? You'll notice that I don't have to page through data. From an architecture perspective, we're not asking you to page through data anymore. This is an infinitely scrolling list that would show me all of the projects in the system if we didn't get to the end of them here. I can also filter this list for my specific projects and then other project statuses within the system. Okay. This view is customizable like the other list screens, allowing you to see specific actuals and estimates related to the projects in the system. And again, we also have the drill down capability. So if I see a project with information I'd like more detail on, simply click the project name, and now it opens up the project view. Here's that trending representation again, showing me estimated versus actual hours, costs, and billing. Same availability. The only thing missing is resources because we're just looking at one project. So we could see the resources on the project very easily here. Okay. Still have the same task structures available for you to leverage if you choose to. And the Team tab corresponds to the team frame, if you're familiar with the team frame on the Edit Project screen today in Gen 2. One initial difference you're going to notice is this special type of team member called a placeholder. The system does support now the ability to assign a placeholder. And a placeholder is a specific role based on your definition of these roles that you need to fill on your project with the user. Depending on your workflow, your product or project managers may log in and put all placeholders on the project, and then a resource manager comes in after the fact to associate specific users, and that can be used and leveraged through the placeholder capability. Okay. The allocation view is going to show you the same team members, but it's going to add a calendar representation of how they are being utilized. Okay. Those of you familiar with Web Resource may see some similarities here. What we're looking at in this resource project team view is the blue corresponding to how much time I'm allocated to this project. White space is unallocated time completely. Gray corresponds to other projects I'm on, and then the green is my time off. The pink tag here indicates that I'm over-allocated for those periods, and we're going to see another view globally of this. But that's what this is communicating. It's letting you understand how your team members stack up as far as availability goes, showing you where you may be able to add hours for certain teams, for certain weeks or days or months. The placeholder at the top, as you'll see, doesn't have an allocation. So what I'm going to do is just quickly add one. I just click inside the cell. I indicate the duration I would like this user or placeholder to work, a percentage of their time or hours per day. And I'm going to make this a part-time allocation because it's project manager will have other stuff to work on. And you can see that updated real time over several weeks from September 9th to September 23rd. Once the placeholder has been allocated, I'll show you how we can associate a resource with that. The Resources tab up at the top, again, permission-based access to this tab, but the Resources tab up at the top is now going to give us a resource view of all of the resources in the system. Every user, again, is listed in this drop-down, and across the top I'm seeing weeks. This shows me my users' availability indefinitely out to the future, so I can see when users are going to free up, when they're going to be available. It also shows me the types of projects they're working on. The light blue versus dark blue is tentative versus in-flight projects, so I can understand if a user is maybe maximized on a tentative project, I may be able to override that. So you can see here that mousing over any one of these cells gives you details about it, and I can drill down into those resource details on the project by clicking the project right from here. Okay. This list, of course, can be quite long depending on the number of users in your organization, and that's why you can break it down and filter for specific departments, specific skill sets. The system does support the definition of skill sets, so you can find employees in your organization that are familiar with ERP architecture and understand when they're available. If you're trying to take on a new ERP project, you may want to ensure availability before you do so, and this view will allow you to see that. This is the graphical representation, but if you're a numbers person and you want to see a percentage associated to those users or raw hours, you can easily change that up at the top. Additionally, a static view of the projects they're working on might be helpful, and you can just choose Show Projects here, and then it'll break it out into all the projects they're assigned to. I could also add new projects from this screen. It's not a requirement that I go into the project to do so. I could also take care of that right from here. Now again, these are all named users within the system. These are not placeholders. So there's an additional tab here that lets me see placeholder resources in the system. And this shows me project by project all the placeholder types that we're looking for. Okay. Now, as a resource manager, I may only be concerned with a specific role. So from the PMO, I'm going to choose Project Manager, and these are all the PMs I need to assign on the projects in flight. And we can see there's the placeholder we allocated previously on this project. I can click the name of the placeholder, bringing up an availability list with the placeholder at the top. Now what you're going to see as we scroll through this list is available users. The percentage of availability you'll notice will drop as we get closer to the bottom. Jason's availability becomes less, Sam's, Sally's, etc. So this view allows for easy identification of users with availability. The filters at the top allow me to find skill sets. If I know this is a Oracle project that they're working on, I may look for a specific skill, find users that are available for that skill set, choose the user and replace at the bottom. That'll update the project team, and it will also, coming back to the resource screen, update their profile, showing me now that they have taken on that allocation for that financial data reporting fixes project. Okay. Now this usability extends to projects. What any of you that have used our extends to report. Sorry, any of you that are familiar with our reporting interface are probably seeing a lot of legacy ghosts. Lots of reports in the system have certain fields that may not be on other reports. So what we did was a huge cleanup here. We really looked at what is important to our customers. We've provided very specific templates that are going to have all of the related task time, expense, and cost. There's no hidden fields, no need to go to multiple reports to find information anymore. We're putting all pertinent information on the report and putting it together. So here's the new reporting interface. There's no more settings tab. You can simply add a checkbox beside the columns you would like. You can find columns very easily just by typing the name of the column. Okay, and then what you can do is simply drag and drop the sort order of those columns in the report list to format the report the way you want. Same grouping and column grouping options are available. Okay. If I create this report, it's going to run for me in the background, and once it comes up, you'll see that the reports can be generated and sent directly to Excel, directly to PDF. They can even be emailed out as well. Okay. Same configurability options exist for the filters within the system. So I have the ability to indicate specific clients potentially, date ranges or projects within the system that I would like to report on. And I just reset the report. There it is. So now I can see very raw data pertaining to all of the fields that I'm looking at. The same applies here. So the system is going to allow me to report on all of the same information that I was able to report on in Gen 2, plus more. So if I go back to reports, that resourcing and that utilization that we were looking at allows us to see comparisons of team members' actuals versus estimated. Because we estimate users are going to work X number of hours on a project, we can now look at what their actuals were in comparison to those tasks. The current system had a limitation. You couldn't estimate Armando's hours on a project over a period of time. All you could say is that this project is going to be 400 hours. I couldn't say Armando's time on this project is going to be 100 hours between June and September. The system now actually allows you to do that. And what you're going to be able to see here momentarily is the report showing us Armando's estimated hours as we defined on the resourcing calendar, and Armando's actual hours as he's entered on the timesheet. It won't be Armando, of course, because I don't actually have him in my database, but we'll be able to see the other users in the system. Now, while this is generating Armando, I did want to point out that up at the top, while I'm sharing, people won't actually have access to the Q&A. So up at the top, if you move your mouse to the top of the screen, you'll be able to see an arrow on the far right side that will allow you to choose Q&A, and that panel will pop up, and you're easily able to populate questions there once you choose to show it. Okay. The report now that we're looking at, again, is formatted with year, month, the actual hours that have been put in compared to the estimated hours. I like to reformat this report a little bit to make it more readable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove some of the grouping at the row level. I'm going to add some column grouping to group by year and then by month. I'm going to save this. That's going to rerun the report and reformat it for me so that I'm actually able to see. Let's use a different date range too. I'm going to choose just the last 60 days. Well, the last 60 days. That's the last 3 months. So again, now this is going to show me the flexibility around column grouping with reports and the enhancements that have been made to accommodate. So now what I'm seeing is year over year, month over month, all of the estimated hours for each user across each project within the system. You can see that totaled at the end by the year and again across all the years that I reported on if it was multiples. And down at the bottom we're seeing those totals as well. Now, keep in mind, we're storing cost information in the system. We're storing billable rates in the system. So what this is going to tell us is month by month, what's profitable, what's not profitable, what this project is costing us, and that's all a result of the PSM suite and that ability to resource and allocate users like Jason or John to a project for a fixed length of time, something that was missing in previous versions of our product. So Armando, I think it probably makes sense to stop. We typically do have quite a few questions when it comes to Gen 3. So I'm going to stop there, and I'll hand it over to you to
sure. Hey,
go
did
through
you
those
cover
questions.
the billing? Did you want to touch on the billing aspect? I don't remember.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That's a good point, Armando. The billing interface that we're looking at here is really going to help facilitate the movement of time from timesheet, and this also applies to expenses as well, from timesheet all the way through to receivables. So what the system is going to allow you to do now, timesheet by timesheet, is show you all the unapproved dollars that are waiting for approval, and you can actually, from a billing perspective, override that immediately, going to the timesheets tab if you need to. But once that time has been approved, hopefully by the user's approvers, it'll move it into a status of not billed or waiting for us to bill this. And then most of the time, this next step is automated through some type of integration with a financial system. But what you're going to be able to do is customer by customer, take all of the hours totaling a certain amount of dollars and set its value to build. Okay, so what this is telling me is that I'm about to bill almost 2,000 hours for $260,000, and I'm going to change its status here. Okay, again, this will usually accompany a transfer to a financial system where an invoice is generated. We're storing that status here so that you can track it and understand how much time for a given customer has been not billed. And then once you do send it to accounting and finance for invoice, you can see how much is waiting for payment. Likewise, an automation back into the system will convert the waiting for payment amount to zero once the user has paid for that invoice you generated previously. Okay. That should be good, Armando.
Great, thanks, Scott.
Not a problem.
So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. As we mentioned before, please contact your account manager, or if you don't know who that is, just email us at sales@replicon.com. And for those of you who's had specific inquiries here and asked to be contacted, we'll also make sure that your account manager reaches out to you. But Scott, thank you for an excellent demonstration, and thanks everyone for joining us today. Have a great day.
Thank you, Armando. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Bye, everyone.